You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 129 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts.
And I'm Matt Lowe.
Nice to jump the introduction. Matt is sitting in for Jessica this week, if you can't tell.
Aww.
The aesthetics and certainly the intelligence of the show have taken a steep dive. First, we want to thank Big Daddy Unlimited for sponsoring the show. Check them out. Please use the link that is on our Facebook page. That takes you to that's the only way we get credit for it. It's a great resource for searching countrywide to find ammo, guns, even Class 3 items. Matt, how have you been?
I've been pretty good. I've been busy. I guess the last time I was on here, we talked a little bit about our home building endeavor that we decided to abandon and just buy. So we purchased about a month ago now, and we're still moving in. I'm still living in boxes, but
yeah, I mean, the prospect of having a new house sounds great.
right
up to the point where you got to put your crap in a new house.
Right.
Oh, and we are coming to you. The audio sounds a little different from Governor's Gun Club in Powder Springs, where Matt and I hang out most Fridays. And thank you, Cece, the bartender who just brought us fresh beers.
Right.
As you can tell, this particular show is not recorded in the morning. Well, I'm going to go kind of out of order because we don't really follow an outline as well as Jessica does. What in the hell is wrong with Paulding County?
Everything. Good Lord.
You had your chance to get out.
I did, and my wife convinced me to stay. And she was very convincing, clearly. But, man, I mean, everybody's seen all the pictures that came out of North Paulding High School, and then all the nonsense that followed with, suspending the girl because she posted the picture. And then they rescinded the suspension the following day after an announcement was made that anybody posting negative comments on social media would be subject to consequences.
This is right after last week when we discussed the discipline by race policy. This is the same high school that had almost 2 years ago, a cheerleader drop an N-bomb in a recording after.
I think it was an Instagram video.
It probably was, after not getting napkins with her nuggets. And then we get another story out of Paulding County. I guess the online classes are consolidated. So it's a giant Zoom meeting. And somehow there's a racial slur dropped in one of these on Monday or last Monday. So in the 3 days they were actually in session, we've got a racial slur. We've got a picture of a crowded hallway. We've got a suspension and a revoke of a suspension, all in the first week of school.
Right.
And the state superintendent threw Paulding County under the bus. He went on interviews on cable news and said, "Hey, look, that school system has full authority to change their dress code and add a mask. That's nothing we can do at the state. That's on them."
Right. Well, of course, that was, then we've got the chairman of the Board of Education for Paulding County, on video. I think a direct quote is, "The CDC recommendations are crap," or utter crap. I can't remember what he said. It was one of them.
And he wanted to, he apologized for using such strong language.
Right.
I mean, I almost spit out my sweet tea. He's not your favorite person anyway.
No. He could breathe loudly, and I would condemn him for it. But I don't know. He's a school board member, not a doctor. Stay in your box, as you like to say.
Yeah, the stuff with the schools. I was actually next to a school board member when the email came out that they're going to go back 3 days and then reassess for 2 days of online learning. And he was like, "What in the hell are you going to figure out in 3 days that you can fix in 2 days?" And then we figured out we've got problems with kids. I guess I don't know if they were changing classes or that was the end of the day that they crowded the hallway.
And that was a class change. I did see an email that they've now moved every hallway in that particular school to a one-way hallway.
It'd take you 15 minutes to find your class.
Right. Yeah. I mean, depending on, I haven't been in North Paulding High School, but depending on how that's set up, I mean, I don't know if it's a big-ass circle, and you come out of, I don't know, room 901 and you need to go to 900. Do you have to go all the way around, or can you just, is it going to work?
Man, they're trying it. They're trying everything. And I heard so many people whining about the suspension, saying that, on both sides. One saying that she didn't have a right to publish minors' faces. And that's why she was suspended. That's why they have those policies. But it sure does seem like they were covering their asses real fast.
Right. I'd like for somebody to do an ORR and find out how many kids have been suspended previously for that same infraction. Now, obviously, they can't release a whole lot of that information, but I would like to know.
Right. I bet you it's not even trackable.
Right. Yeah. Never. That's the answer. That
right,
no one's ever done it.
Because it's never been critical.
Right.
I mean, how many of these kids take selfies with kids in the background of football games and everything else? I get the argument about foster kids and kids that are hiding from abusive parents and stuff like that. The question I had for him was, if she blocked out the faces, would she still have gotten suspended?
Well, though the other thing is the Supreme Court's ruled a whole lot of times about your image being captured in public, and that you really have no real recourse, with the exception of if they specifically use it and make money from it. It's public school. Is that considered out in public at this point?
Well, and what also is out in public is the discipline of an individual child, that now people in Spokane, Washington know exactly who this girl is.
Right.
What she looks like. And that's her own fault. She went on news. But everybody knows who this girl is. Of course, she said that, I didn't expect anything like that to go that viral. But I mean, that's a 15-year-old's goal.
Right.
But of course, the way the article was written up, a 15-year-old honor student was removed from class and informed she'd been suspended.
Right. Well, they called her, I don't know what it was, Friday morning, I think, and rescinded the suspension, which I'm curious, what all that was about. I'd like to know the closed door conversations that happened with that. If they're like, we have stirred up a freaking storm here.
It could be the only thing is the Brian Otot, who's the superintendent, and the school board members sitting in a room 6 feet away from each other wearing masks.
Right.
And saying, okay, how do we put this fire out? And so, all right, how do we make the racial slur on a Zoom call go away? Let's suspend her and then reinstate her. That's when David Copperfield's level sleight of hand right there.
Right.
That's not a dad trick pulling a coin out from behind your ear. That's making the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Right.
Because it wasn't even about kids saying something stupid. It was the fact they had already done an investigation for 3 days and still had no idea how it happened, who did it.
If you're on a Zoom meeting with a couple hundred people, how would you? I mean, can you even do that? I'm not a computer guy. I'm sure that So there's somebody listening that's, oh, well, you do it this way, but
Well, I mean, the whole idea, I would think, would be for whoever's and look, the schools haven't had the time to really test this stuff out. This is moving on the fly, but you would think that you would mute all the students except for one who virtually raised his hand, and you say, "Okay, Billy, did you have a question?" And then you bring his mic back on,
right,
or else you're going to hear nothing but kids screaming for cheesy poofs from mom, and,
right,
and
farts.
I was on a Zoom conference one day, and the guy was calling in from Waffle House, and the guy running kept trying to muting him. He kept unmuting it because he didn't understand why the hell was muting. Nobody could hear anything besides scrambled double covered.
Right.
But we're behind the eight ball on it. The rush to get back to school is kind of the strange thing.
Right. Well, I think it was. I mean, the school board set the precedent for that fairly early on. The video recording I'm talking about with Jeff Fuller, the chairman, was in May, and he was hell bent then on we're starting school August 3rd. So I feel like everything about it was kind of just slammed together. Let's figure this out. And of course, having children in the Paulding County school system, I got the same email that went out that had all of the the survey for it, where I think they said that 70% of parents wanted to go back to in-person classes. I like having my kids around, so I was like, hell no, let's keep it virtual. Cut some budget. I mean, we'll kill a whole lot of the county's budget if we don't have to maintain those schools year round.
Well, you also can leave the house every day.
That's true. I can. I get up and go to work. My wife, her work is at our house. I think she answered the exact opposite of the way that I did, and was not happy when I told her. I was like, well, this is how I answered. She was like, are you kidding me?
Well, we get these stories out about the labor market being so open they can't find people to go to work, and part of that's got to be parents that have nothing else to do with their kids.
Right.
I don't like calling the schools babysitters, but you kind of throw the car in reverse real damn fast for anybody to make adjustments.
Right. I'm not sympathetic to people that are like, what am I going to do with my kids now? It's like, well, you should have thought about that prior to having them. Obviously, it was a decision my wife and I made very early on in our marriage.
And often.
Right.
A man with 7 kids, and the majority of them in Paulding County schools.
Right, all but one. Well, all but 2. My oldest is he left. He did basic for the Air Force, and then went to his AIT at Shepherd. He graduated last week with top grad, and then he was supposed to be shipped to Kadena in Okinawa, Japan, and late last week they put a moratorium on anybody going to that particular base. So he's stuck, and he calls me the other day, and he goes, I got what has been affectionately referred to as the Shepherd Shaft, and I am stuck here until at least October 1st.
Oh, and look, I know exactly what would happen if he was in the Army.
Oh, it's the same thing that's happening here. He's mopping floors and sweeping.
Don't they have civilians that do that for you in the Air Force?
Apparently not.
I mean, it would be cutting grass. I mean, it's not punishment. It's just
it's details.
We've got nothing else for you to do, and you're not just going to sit around. Well, we'll keep him from leaving post and going and getting married.
Right. So he added me on this. We both have Samsung phones, and there's a fitness app that's on there called Samsung Health, and it tracks your steps. And he was like, "Let's just do this, and we'll compare." And so it was a race to 30,000 steps, which is like 10,000 steps is 5 miles, so it's 15 miles. he did that in 2 days.
I figured,
and I was at like 7,000.
I figured you would have it. You got a job going on at Hartsfield, and it's not like you could pull up to Hartsfield and hop out in a truck.
Right, but it's still, I mean, it doesn't take, 500 steps to get to where I'm going. And then I just kind of stand there and talk to my install crews about whatever they're doing. And then 500 steps back. So, I'm 1,000 in, but.
Yeah, and 2 hours driving.
Right. And then he's mopping some floor all damn day. And he hates it.
Well, I mean, how much of his skills are perishable?
Really, I think, it's kind of like with any advanced training in the military. You go to the class and they teach you as much as they can in a very, in a condensed time frame. And then a lot of your stuff is really OJT.
Right.
But I do think that, his is a fairly technical field. He's the guy that when the frontline mechanics can't figure out whatever's wrong with a jet engine, they pull the entire engine off the jet, send it back to the back shop where he's at, and then they break it down and go from there. So I don't know the ins and outs of a freaking jet engine because that's not my thing. But.
So he's gonna be holding a flashlight for quite a while,
right?
Sorry, son, we're not gonna hand over $300 million jet.
Right. Well, he makes the joke that he's like, man, at this rate, I'm going to be tool boy for a freaking year. And I'm like, till the next group of newbies come in.
Till the FNGs come in. Yeah, so I picture him sitting around a computer somewhere doing their professional development courses or something like that and clicking through on a computer.
Right. I told him he ought to go ahead and start his community college stuff because Air Force is a little different from the Army. I know you and I have some experience with that. And you just kind of enroll online with various universities throughout the country that volunteered to say, hey,
well, those correspondence courses when I was in the Army.
So his is actually through is the Air Force Community College, but because he's in AIT, they won't allow him to do it. Even though he's graduated, he's in that weird state of limbo. They won't let him do it.
So he's being treated like a reclass.
Oh yeah, he's just stuck, and it's miserable, and I think it's hilarious.
Well, did you see last week ethics charges against Fulton County DA Paul Howard is settled?
I'm shocked that happened. I don't know. He fired or brought charges against the guy before an investigation was finished.
As this show drops, his re-election campaign is tomorrow for the primary.
Yeah, is he going to win?
I have no idea, but it's not even enough time for anybody to get anything out. He paid $6,500 in fines. He agreed to pay anyway.
Right.
For failing to disclose his role as CEO of 2 nonprofits, one of which netted him $195,000 in city grant money.
There's nothing to see there. Just move along. It's Fulton County. Really, it's. Part of me wants to be shocked, but again, it's Fulton County. It's government in general.
Okay, so the checks were deposited into the bank account of Howard's People Partnering for Progress nonprofit.
People partnering. Blah, blah, blah.
Sounds like bull.
Right.
Like if the People Partnering for Progress called me looking for a donation.
No, thank you.
Of course, yet to be resolved is an ongoing criminal investigation of Howard for padding his pay with $195,000 of the $250 grant money the city of Atlanta. So apparently, Chris is doing something up in the Attorney General's office.
Right. It's not dealing with ORRs or anything like that. But whatever. That's
well, he doesn't represent the people. Represents the government.
That's true. He does.
But this is the same guy that is going after what's his Garrett?
Garrett Rolfe. Yeah, I really want to see that dude. I just don't think that he acted in bad faith. Like, I think that everything that he did was probably by the book. I'm sure, I mean, he wound up shooting a guy once or twice in the back. The first couple shots were in the chest. It's just, I mean, I know enough about, I've shot enough animals in my life to see what happens when you shoot something and how they react. It wouldn't surprise me to, you know, I don't think the guy was wrong in it. And I think that the DA jumped the gun. And I would really like to see him get acquitted and then sue the absolute pants off this guy.
He's already suing his department for firing him without due process.
Right.
So,
no, I want to see him go after him personally.
Right. So apparently last week or week before, he decided he's going to go to Florida.
Who?
Garrett.
Oh, yeah?
With his ankle monitor on, which, of course, Florida is the natural environment for ankle monitors.
To go to Panama City?
Close, Daytona.
No, yeah, but same thing. Whatever, different coast, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Still heavily mulleted.
Right.
So his legal team sends an email to the folks that are handling his stuff a day after he went.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, he's in Florida. I guess he's supposed to get permission to leave the state, and of course the widow is whooping up a storm that you know, he's on vacation after shooting in the back, and like he hadn't been convicted of anything. I don't think he went down there out of bad faith. I don't even know that it cost him anything. It would have been things that could have been something he paid for. He paid for a long time ago. Like,
right.
Use the beach house. It's not going to get used. So Rolfe's stepmother name is on a 2-page front and back fake handwritten letter that was sent out to me endorsing Marjorie Greene.
Really?
With a picture of the two of them standing there and how Marjorie Greene stands with law enforcement and how she helped get Garrett released from jail. I mean, I'm not sure where this ranks on poor taste.
Right. I don't even know what to do. My opinion of Marjorie Greene is so tainted by the Q stuff. I don't even know what to do with that. This is the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, and I normally don't open that stuff, but I saw Rolfe on it on the return address. And what the hell is this? So open it up, and out comes out a glossy picture of the two of them together and a glowing letter of why I should vote for Marjorie Greene.
Wow.
Now, I believe this is the one that lost her job. Like right after the shooting, she got fired from her job.
Oh yeah, because of her relation to him. Yeah, I think so.
So I feel for her. But damn, she to be used as a football.
Hopefully, she got paid for it.
It may have been whatever, because his bond is $500,000 or something like that.
Right.
I don't know if she reached into her coffers and took whatever it is, the $300,000 or $200,000 she got from PPP funds and threw a couple other bills with it and paid his bail. I don't know.
I mean, a property bond or even just a regular bond only requires 10%.
I mean, I don't know if it was a cash-only bond or not.
I don't think they can they do cash-only bonds now?
I don't know. But
the handful of times I've ever been bonded in jail required $1,000 in bail, so it was $100 of money with a bonding agent.
Yeah, and you show back up.
Right, yeah. Show back up. Of course, I self-bonded once for $1,300 in Paulding County. It took me like 4 years to get that back.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, oh, well, once the case has been completely dismissed, I'm like, yeah, we're dismissed. They were like, yeah, well, I'm like, you going to give me interest on that? How's that work? And they were like, no, sir.
So that was the second time you went to prison.
No, I've sadly been in jail a few times for a few minutes, mostly because I'm retarded and I dare cops to arrest me. Like, I've seriously twice in my life said the words, I dare you to arrest me for that. And they did. Now, it's always dismissed, but do
you think that could have had something to do with how long it took you to get your money back?
It could have there.
Like, F this guy.
Right. That's a little piece of advice I give my kids. Don't ever dare the cops to arrest you because they will.
My advice is always don't try to adjudicate a case on the side of the road.
Yeah, no, that's always inadvisable.
You can't talk yourself out of trouble. You can talk yourself into it.
Real fast.
Yeah. Yes, just keep talking. Especially now because everything's being recorded. Just keep talking.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't help if you're asleep in Wendy's.
And just smashed.
Yeah, the best part of that video is, do you know where you are?
No.
And he's like, yeah.
Home.
He's like, the Homewood Suites right over there. He goes, what? Old National. Old National. This isn't Old National. Yes, it is. He's trying to argue. Yeah, this is Old National. Like, you're in Atlanta. He's like, yeah, Forest Park. No, you're in the city of Atlanta.
Right. 15 miles from where you need to be, homie.
No, the video didn't end with a loss of life. It'd be hilarious.
Right.
If you watch only the first 10 minutes of it, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen.
Right.
Because he's trying to reason his way out of it. So we get a story, I guess a week and a half ago now, that new Pentagon training refers to protesters, journalists as adversaries.
Man, I like the spokesman's trying to, I don't know, use various versions of that definition to make that okay.
Look,
we just mean people that aren't directly involved in the mission. Okay.
All right. So there's something called MET-T. Mission, Equipment, Time, Troop, and Terrain. And some along the time that I was in, it went to MET-T-C, to add civilians. They said the C really stands for CNN. So your answer for anything would be, hey, Sergeant Roberts, how are you going to get this done? MET-T. I've got to know all those conditions before I give you a solid answer. And then it went to MET-T-C, and this is 25 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, we've been aware for a long time. We've been aware since the first Gulf War. Hell, since Vietnam. The press is not our friend.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not there to help. I mean, they even had like fake reporters in a training exercise and stuff like that. It's great. I mean, but the practical side of it is you do need to know how to deal with the press in the field.
Right.
And we have a friend who actually listens to the show. That was her job, was to deal with if something happened, she'd get on, be flown or drive wherever she had for the Air Force, and then go handle the press releases and go get statements and all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, so it's man, I don't know. Do you have a problem with the word adversary?
In that context, probably. Because it's military. Like, it just... I don't know, the optics of it are bad.
Well, what you're talking about, the quote is Lieutenant Uriah Orland, Pentagon spokesperson, defended the use of the term adversaries. An adversary, a common generic term for a person or group that opposes one's tactical goals, is acting counter to our information security objectives, and therefore personnel must understand that threat. Attempting to read more into the use of that term to the clear purpose of the training. to prevent information from falling into unauthorized hands. It reminds me of an old joke. Or an old story that they had Boy Scouts out and they were teaching them to shoot. This is back in the 90s. And the reporter who's along with them, and he talked about all the great things these kids are doing. They're shooting on a pellet gun range or 22 range. He said, well, aren't you equipping these children to be killers? He said, no, I'm teaching them how to use a firearm. And they go back and forth, but aren't you equipping them to be killers? And he finally said, well, you're equipped to be a whore, are you? Right. But yeah, our history of going back with the press is since World War II has not been great.
Right.
Okay, you're talking about a time when even World War II, Patton was one of their favorite targets. Guess what he said this time?
Right. Well, I mean, he was a guy that said all kinds of crazy shit, and he got results too, but. I don't know. I think they probably should do away with the embedded reporter stuff altogether.
Yeah, Geraldo during the initial invasion.
Right. Yeah. No. Get them out of there. Let the military go in, do what they do.
Just kill people and break things.
Right. If that's your goal, do it well, and then leave, and then let the reporters talk about it after.
Well, Schwarzkopf famously used the press during the invasion of Kuwait. SEALs took landing buoys and put them off the coast of Kuwait. And then every day we watched on CNN Marines practicing amphibious landings over and over every day. When's the invasion coming? Every day. Watch it over and over. And then we went over land.
Right.
And their big guns were still pointed at sea.
Right.
Say, Iraqi AK-47 never fired, only dropped once. This is a good time to remind everybody these are our opinions and not necessarily those of any All on Georgia reporter not appearing on this show, not the whole series. So don't
this particular episode.
Don't lump Jessica in with us. So you and I got into with a couple folks the day we recorded over a meme that's going around the interwebs. And it says crazy how the internet cannot eliminate child pornography, but the root demand for child trafficking, but can censor, block, and delete all conspiracy theories and facts. Oh, and contact trace those who've been in contact with COVID, but not those who steal and molest kids.
You and I kind of we have the same, we come from the same kind of train of thought that words mean things. And me especially, when you're talking about this, because you're talking about things from a legal perspective, what are you going to do? You don't see these, and sorry, the argument kind of centered around the use of the word the internet, which is just a bunch of random servers all over the place. And we were like, it's not the internet. It's various ISPs, it's search engines, it's social media platforms, things like that they were specifically talking about. But you don't see a district attorney or the FBI or the GBI or whoever, Homeland Security specifically when it comes to child porn, open investigations and name the internet as it was a long conversation that we had with this one woman in particular that was like, well, you know what I meant, was essentially how she ended the entire conversation. And I don't know. I think that if you're going to engage in conversations like that you need to be very specific about what you're talking about.
Look, you don't see ads for buying children on Facebook.
No, unless you're a Q follower and it's Wayfair, but whatever.
Yeah, $7,000 cabinet or something.
Right.
That stuff. But anyway, back on this meme is The internet allows for stupid people to appear smart until you actually engage them in a conversation. Because one of the first comments was, well, that's a good point. No, it's not a good point. You can both disagree with Facebook using fact check and blocking people, and Google burying different campaign pages that you have to specifically go and search out conservative commentary that doesn't pop up on your Google search if you're using specific terms. That's fine. That's a fine conversation to have. But to compare it to Google not eliminating child pornography on the internet, well, they do a pretty damn good job. Make sure it's not on their platform.
Right. I mean, that was the other thing. Is one of the people on there. I challenged him to. He's like, well, you can with some very basic keywords find child porn right on Google. No, you can't. Do it. Post the screenshots. I'll wait. And he never replied to that thread at all because he knows if he has done the things that he says he's done, he knows that the minute you start entering keywords for child porn, that your ISP flags it and they send it here in the state of Georgia. It goes straight. There's an office within the GBI that handles it. It goes to them. Somebody physically looks at it. They look at the terms and the IP addresses and see if this has happened before. And then if necessary, they'll send it to the local CAC, which is Crimes Against Children Investigator, through the sheriff's office or police department, whatever is the one that handles it. In Cobb, it's a Cobb PD, and Paulding, it's Paulding Sheriff's Office. And we'll send it to them, and then they'll come out and they'll start digging around and looking and see exactly what's going on there. So no, you cannot just go onto Google and search, I want to see naked 6-year-old girls and get those photos. It's not going to happen. It's called the dark web for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff out the dark web. Your sister would know more than I, but I imagine junk drives and stuff like that, where the images are saved in a private memory device.
Right. Well, now part of the complaint is that Google, like in their Google Drive and Google Photos section, they don't scan those images until, they don't scan them on upload. They scan them when they're shared. And so that's part of the why Google was named in some of these investigations, is because that is the case. They don't look at them. Dropbox doesn't. Now there's a handful that do look at them on the upload and see exactly what it is.
Yeah, but Google Drive's got millions of images that are being uploaded to people's drive constantly. I mean,
right. Yeah, it would be impossible to do it, I would think. I don't know. They managed to do it on the share.
I'm sure there's an algorithm that goes into it that will say, okay, that's the face of a child, and they're not wearing clothes, and then somebody looks at it.
Right. Of course, then you get into all these weird laws, like in the state of Georgia, what constitutes child porn and what doesn't.
Right.
Which is sometimes I think about the things, I talk to my sister about these things quite a bit. The images that pass the sniff test of the law, right? Like if you were to dress my 5-year-old up like that, they'd find your body somewhere.
Right. What's the term they use? Design or are intended to arouse?
Yeah. No, well, it's not even that. It's like you can legally put a 5-year-old girl in sexy lingerie, take pictures of her all day long, and as long as she isn't touching the areas that would be her breasts or her butt, it's fine. If she's not wearing a top at all, as long as she's not touching her breast area, they're legal.
Really?
Yeah. And I would rip your freaking face off if you did that to my 5-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
your face will be my next Halloween mask.
What's the quote they used in Congress years and years ago? When they asked, what's the definition, I think, of whether it was pornography or something like that.
Right. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. I don't know how you write that down because a little girl coming out of the pool and someone snaps a picture and mom was changing her.
Right.
I mean, I'm not talking.
I mean, that's dad's issue right there. You know, go over, snatch the camera out of his hand, break it over his face, and it's dealt with. You know, but
or kids sitting naked in a little kiddie pool or whatever. Yeah, that we know that's not
right.
and we know a 5-year-old dressed up like a French maid with fish nets on and
That is
and a blouse undone is like you need to freaking die.
right. Now I've had, you know, obviously with a bunch of kids, we've had photographers over the years, and they've every one of them has flat refused to do any naked pictures of the kids after the age of 2.
That's probably a decent policy.
I think it's probably a self-protection thing. They're all like, "Oh, it's the law," and I know enough to know it's not. But it's a good personal policy to have, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy out here that got in trouble for taking. He fancies himself a photographer taking boudoir pictures of a minor.
See that it's just.
And you know who it is.
Do I? Well, now I want to say who.
But from my understanding, yeah, he got when he was up for a position, that came out, and he fancies himself a photographer and takes all these sexy pictures and stuff. I just not fit for air because I'm not going to get the show sued or me sued personally. I just told Matt who it is, and I'm sorry I'm not going to broadcast it. But he's now dying laughing because it's like it makes sense now.
Right. Totally.
I mean, yeah, you're 60 years old. You probably don't need to be doing sexy modeling pictures of a 16 or 17-year-old.
Right. Yeah. Wait till she's 18.
Like the good Lord intended. But yeah, it was one of those whisper things that got around,
right?
And it was right on his Facebook. I mean, he was proud of it until someone's like, "That's a minor."
Right. She's 16.
It's like the line. You've probably never seen Boogie Nights either.
No, I haven't.
Where the colonel goes to jail and he's crying. He's, "I didn't know she was 16. I didn't know she was 16." You gotta help me out. I didn't know.
You know, of course, we've talked about that some too. Where I don't know, and I've had these conversations with my sister too when it deals with things like that. She's perfectly fine with 16 being legal ages of consent and things like that, which it is in the state of Georgia. But she actually thinks it should drop to 14. Because part of her reasoning in that was that there are 14-year-olds that do not look 14, and she thinks that to put everything on some random dude to check an ID is probably a bit much.
Oh man, I mean, I'm almost okay with 14 and 2.
Right? Yeah, peers. Maybe.
Yeah. 14 years, no more than 2 years difference.
Right.
I mean, look, if you're 18 years old and you're swinging by the middle school.
Right. Yeah, but you could be, 14's a freshman.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
You know, you could be a junior or a senior. But I guess in the conversations that I've had about it too, I'm like, yeah, well, I see your point, but also I'm 40. I freaking know it if I'm talking to a 14-year-old. Like, there's a vast difference in just the things that you talk about, and maturity level and things like, you know.
What would I talk about even with a 20-year-old? Freaking Teletubbies?
Right. Right.
I mean,
yeah. They're talking about the new beer, what they're going to do with life and whatever. And you're like, well, my retirement fund.
Yeah, I'm halfway to the end, sweetheart.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you are keenly aware at 40.
Right.
But, you know.
Or should be.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not, you're intentionally being obtuse about it.
Yeah, and that's your thing.
Right.
That's Epstein. That was Epstein's thing, was young girls.
Right.
And I mean, that's his thing, was the power that money gets you with young women. Like, I appreciate being able to talk to somebody. I mean, without needing shadow puppets or anything to explain my point. I don't have to go, okay, sweetie, put your iPad down. You've had enough screen time. Let's go to bed. I'm an awful person. I know it.
I like you anyway, in spite of that.
And in spite of you, you're an awful person too.
Shh, we weren't talking about me.
So, tomorrow, I can't wait for tomorrow. The primary will be over.
Will it?
As this show drops.
Oh, yeah.
And then it'll be on to the November. But it's the politics has been so damn ugly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, where do you even start with that? I mean, we touched on Marjorie Greene a little bit ago. She's batshit crazy. You're going to have to do a show at some point devoted solely to QAnon and what that is, because they're just the number of people that I've talked to.
You come back on, because I don't even know the ins and outs. Like Giles put something on Facebook when someone asked what the QAnon stuff is, and he writes it out, and it is like, ooh.
It's so. Have you ever watched the show Blacklist?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture that, right, with James Spader's character as Q, right? He's divulging all of this information, right? And there's this worldwide cabal of rich and politically powerful people who run, instead of running this big international criminal network, they're running an international child sex trafficking ring, right?
I gotta know a few things from somebody who actually believes it. Like, I'd like to have a QAnon person on.
All right, so I got two dudes that I work with. Like, they're 100% sold on it.
All right, so Jeffrey Epstein, probably not a pedophile, creepy rapist, deserved to die. But the line is puberty. Michael Jackson, pedophile,
right,
would get rid of the kids when they hit puberty.
Right.
Like, I'm done with you. Your voice changed. Get out.
Right.
Yeah. Or when they come to visit, apparently, if you ever watched the special on it,
no.
If you just want to be pissed for days, why it's interviewing victims. But anyway, where are the bodies? Like, they're talking about 200,000 children a year. I mean, where are the parents that are looking for their kids?
Right.
I see these stupid memes on Facebook about kids wearing masks and making it hard to find if they're kidnapped. Like, that's not what's happening. The cases, and again, your sister's a better expert on it than I am, are really horrible parents that
that's exactly it.
That sell their kids to buy drugs.
I had one of my kids' teacher, and I won't say what grade it was, had a student in class with my kid who was a beautiful little Latin girl, and her dad or granddad, I can't remember now, was very well connected with one of the cartels, and there was security protocols in place that dealt with that class and that school and him, because he was constantly trying to kidnap his granddaughter to sell her for $200.
Yeah, that's it is, from what I've seen from actually people who do it, and I mean, not do that, but prosecute and
right,
and search these crimes out, is it's a parent in a crack den who the drug dealer's like, hey, how old's your daughter?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, she's 6 and cute.
Yeah.
I can sell her for $500.
Yeah, you know how much dope that'll buy you?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, you'll be messed up for days. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. You can always have another one.
Right.
Yeah, that's what that happens. This, and we've talked about it on the show before. I was almost totally abducted up Target. No, you weren't, Karen.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. No. That guy following you was also going to buy toilet paper.
Right.
The Uber driver that you thought was kidnapping you picked up the wrong person who was going to the address that was in the app.
Right.
I mean, 99.9% of the time is not the horrible story.
Right.
And I said before, this is not, it's not Taken. It's not two American girls that are just snatched off the street and sold in some auction somewhere. It's just that it makes a really good movie.
Right, but the flip side of that is they thought it up for the movie, which means somebody else thought it up at some point. I'm sure it's happened. I don't know that scenario is something that plays out with an extreme regularity.
Well, it could also be based in history. Like this, that would not have been odd for sultans and things like that to bid on 1500s
or whatever, right.
Bid on concubines and stuff like that. But it makes for a good story,
right?
But by the time
especially when Dad runs in and kills everybody,
yeah. But by the fifth time you make Taken, maybe he's just a bad dad,
right? Keep better tabs on your daughter.
I mean, she's just got bad luck.
Right.
Dad, it's me again. Yeah. No, duct tape this time. You figures you know what to look for now.
You can see it coming.
Like after 3.
Well, on the third one, it was the parents that got abducted.
Oh, okay.
So, and she saved them.
I was about to say, after 3 times being abducted.
Yeah, did we just talk about a movie you haven't seen?
Yeah. Taken 3.
We should write this down. Matt saw a movie that Dave hasn't.
Matt makes a movie reference and Dave doesn't get it. I mean, like, after being kidnapped a few times, I wouldn't take a drink from anybody.
Yeah.
No. Give me a beer with the cap on, please.
Right. I'll unscrew it. It's fine.
Well, Matt, we seem to get off on every hog trail. What are your closing thoughts?
Oh, why did you ask me that? I don't have any. I used all my thoughts for this show. I'm going to have to come back in like 7 months when I have some more.
Well, we'll be back to our regular programming next week. If you like what you heard, I'm sorry. But be sure to like us and share us on Facebook. We did the best we could. You could probably hear gunshots in the background because the range is being used and the bar that's behind us, clinking glasses. But yeah, that's
what you get when Jessica leaves.
Yeah, exactly. We get real sideways. We did kind of kick around the idea of doing another podcast as you and me on fishing and hunting.
Right. That would be fun, I think.
Just finding time.
Right. I think it would have to, if you did something like that, it'd have to be something that did, we drop once every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that.
In a half hour.
Yeah, half hour max. Because nobody wants to listen to us talk about hunting and fishing more than a half hour.
Well, and how much content do you have when it's the off season?
Right. Well, I mean, we could talk about a fair amount of fishing because those seem to run. Well, I mean,
fishing season's on right now. I just can't go because it's hot.
So, right.
But there we go off another hog trail. So, for Matt Lowe, for Eric Cumbie, our editor, for the poor Jessica Salaji, who had her reputation damaged by this show.
Soiled.
I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.